Got 12 guys in chat.
All right, here we go, guys. We are live. It is week 17. You'll notice we have a new overlay. We've got some new stuff going on. We've got special guests. We have a Steelers fan that we brought on. You may remember Mark from a previous show, couple months back. I said, "Hey, this last game of the season, you gotta promise you'll come back," and he's agreed. With me always is my dad there as well. So
All right.
first things first. Mark, welcome back to the Brownie Postgame channel. And what are your thoughts on the game today?
It's good to be here, Mike. As I told you a few minutes ago, I had to dust off the Bernie Kosar shirt that you sent me, but I wear it with pride, knowing Bernie and spending some time growing up with him in Youngstown, Ohio, Boardman High School. So this is the only time you'll see me wear this shirt, and then it goes back into the depth of the closet and collects dust. Interesting game today for sure. I was telling you earlier that from a Steelers perspective, it's almost like a glorified preseason game because we're obviously we've won the division. It's all about health now going into the playoffs. So sitting quite a few people that I think would have been key players if it came down to us having to battle today for the division, which is unfortunate. As a rabid Steelers fan and growing up close to the Cleveland area, I would have liked to have seen this game have a lot more importance for the Steelers, although it has tremendous importance for the Browns. So to me, I think it's all about pride. And I break that down, each of those letters, into what I think is going to be some key things to focus on as we look at the game today. And I'm happy to talk about that as we go through the conversation.
I love it. Yeah, I would agree. I think that this game is obviously huge for the Browns. This is I would argue this is probably the biggest game that other than when we were in the playoffs in 2002, when I was 22 years old. This is the biggest game in my adult life, I think, for the Browns. And it's a bit unfortunate that we didn't get to see, iron on iron for this one. We're getting your backups. It is going to be like a preseason game, I think, for you guys, which is probably a good thing because, if you get into the playoffs, God forbid something happens, having a couple reps and in a game like this isn't going to hurt to get used to that speed of the game. And there's a really good chance that we're going to see each other next week anyway, back in Pittsburgh. So, you'll get a chance to get a real good feel for us against our best in a game that we absolutely have to win to stay alive. So I'm walking into this game. I don't have as much anxiety as I had the last several weeks because of COVID and because of how it's basically just devastated our team. And you know what the funny thing was? I got to tell you that going into the season, we're in September. There's no OTAs. There's no preseason. And we all know what's going on with COVID. We've been dealing with it for going on 6 months at that point. And I sat there and I was like, you know what? We have a good schedule. We have a good team. And it's just gonna be so Browns of us to be the one team in the NFL that is devastated over and over. We have to wake up every single morning and I look at my phone and I wait for that text to come in from Ristano or from one of my Browns fans or from my dad saying, "Oh, we lost another guy. We lost another guy. We lost another guy." And I don't know if you can blame it on the Browns organization. Historically with the Browns, when we had all that big staph infection outbreak with with Brian Hartline and all those guys. I mean, it's always been this way. And of course, it's just like, of course there's a worldwide pandemic. And of course it impacts the Browns over and over and over again. Nothing's ever easy for this team. And I'll give it to the Steelers. I sat there this week and I'm like, there's no way they're going to play Roethlisberger. There's no way they're going to play those guys. They already lost Devin Bush in the first game we played, and that was a devastating loss for you guys. In a meaningless game where it doesn't matter if you beat us or lose. You could beat us by 100 or beat us by 1 point or lose. Nothing matters. So it would be a terrible move for Tomlin to play any of his impact players. So it makes total sense, right?
Yeah, I think, but you listen, I said earlier that it's like a glorified preseason game, but let me tell you that with the injuries on the Steelers team, primarily in the linebacking core, which is a huge opportunity for Baker to step up. Like he should be picking that apart left and right today. We'll talk about that here in a minute. It's an opportunity for these players that traditionally don't get a chance to get on the field and play for them to show. So I do think that when I talk about pride, I think there's some pride in the second and third string guys that are coming in and get a chance to play today, whether that's proving to the Steelers leadership that they belong on the team and that they've got a future there, or showcasing their talent for what happens in the offseason with free agency and moves that other teams will make. And so let's see what happens. Like I'll be, as a Steelers fan, I'll be very disappointed if they come out and they just are going through the motion. That will be very upsetting to me, and that's why I decided to choose the word pride today to kind of depict what I think is gonna or should happen in the game.
Dad, what are your thoughts going into this one?
Again, I'm like you, Mike. I've had so many high expectations going into every game this year, thinking that we have the ability to win every game that we are scheduled to play. Getting extremely disappointed when we get blown out a couple of times, but happy with the overall results. This one, I'm just not sure. I mean, it's a funny game. We should win it, but you never. Although there's no tomorrow, so if you don't come out with your A game today, you might as well just pack it in. I hate to see Baker go out on a bad game and a bad loss, so I'm hoping he rebounds. He's never had two bad games in a row. He was mediocre last week, except for the fumble there at the end, which cost us really a chance to win the game. So I was extremely disappointed with that. But my expectations are, let's see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping we win. I'm rooting for us to win. I think we should win. But
It's like we may have lost him there for a second.
Indianapolis can lose. We can get in that way.
Hey, Dad, we're having a little bit of issue. I don't know if you can hear us, but we're having a little bit of issue.
The Steelers again the next week, knowing that they're going to have their full and the kicker.
Hey, Dad, hold on a second. We're having a little bit of an issue. You're going in and out real quick, so we're just gonna let me. I'll take over for just a sec while we just hope that that internet squares itself out. I think the other thing that we just heard in the chat, people are asking if Jedrick Wills and Wyatt Teller are playing. Jedrick was full practice, even though he had an illness, and then we had Wyatt Teller's been limited, and Wyatt's been, one of those. Honestly, when he's in the game, we do really well. When he's not, we struggle. So if him being back against a first/second team defense for the Steelers, that's going to be. I think that's going to be the biggest difference between this week and last week. Is going to be Teller and Jedrick Wills. We have those guys. I think we're going to be just fine, and I think we win this game. I don't know if we dominate the game. I don't know if it's like 40-0 or anything like that. I think the Steelers can still score. It comes down to like what does our game plan look like? Are we going to be a little bit too anxious? Are we going to go into this game nice and steady, just win the game, get through it? We don't have to score 50 points. We don't got to go into the prevent and do any of that crazy stuff. We just got to play 4 quarters, win the game, execute. Specifically on special teams, we need to have Cody Parkey make makeable kicks and prove that he can do that in the cold, under pressure. I would just hate for this season to come. Let's say that we get 3 field goal opportunities and we miss 2 of them and we end up losing the game and get knocked out of the playoffs to a kicker. That would be just a tragedy in itself, along with making extra points, right? He's got to prove that he can do that, because That to be honest, I mean the Steelers have a great kicker. The Ravens have the greatest kicker of all time. Um, and oftentimes in the NFL, when things are really close, it comes down to that. It comes down to special teams execution and very simple stuff.
Right.
And often it's funny. I mean, just in general in life, a lot of times it comes down to the simple execution of showing up and doing your job. Is 80% of it, and then the rest of it, you were hired to do a job. You're smart enough to do a job. You're experienced enough. Cody's got to make the kicks, right? So we have to see that as well. So Dad, I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit there when you were going through it, but if you want to just take us through some of the last things you were saying.
Yeah, just that my expectations are not as high as they have been in the past. Just because of not winning, so I'm going to sit back. Obviously, the key is Baker. If Baker has a good game, he doesn't commit the early turnover.
Mhm.
We committed that early turnover against you guys the first game. We just never recuperated from that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And he has a tendency to do that. He has a tendency to stay in the pocket a little bit too long and then try to throw over big linemen. And he's had at least one pass block every game with a lineman's putting his hand up and knocking it down. He can throw the ball very well on the run. Michael was a quarterback in high school, and I was always amazed that when Michael rolled out to the right, especially, he could throw the ball more accurate than he could when he was standing in the pocket. He wasn't the biggest guy on his team, but be able to see the receivers, but yet throw the ball, square your shoulders, throw the ball. And Baker does that. He does that quite well. So if they move him out of the pocket, little play action, little fake to the left, go to the right. Last week we had the opportunity, because of all the guys being out, to put Hunt and Chubb in the backfield at the same time. We didn't do that the entire season, and yet we had the opportunity. But with all the guys out, we did, and we never utilized it. It never became a factor right from the get-go. And so it's, I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, I'm hoping that we have a good game. If we have a good game, Baker plays well, and we get the running game going, we got our receivers back, we have no excuse. We have no excuse.
Hey, Mark, I just a question about from a Steelers fan perspective. How hot you guys were to start this season, going 11-0 at one point, being undefeated and pushing for, just going right up against the Chiefs for the top spot in the AFC. And then as you saw that first domino kind of fall with the Washington game, and then it kind of went from there. If you're looking at towards the back half of the season, we know that teams that get hot at the end of the season typically do well in the playoffs. Are you nervous, and is Steeler Nation nervous about the performance at the end of the season that could then potentially impact what happens in the postseason?
No doubt, Mike. Listen, of course, I wanted to see the Steelers go undefeated for the season and break some records, or at least tie some records and head in on a high. But I've been around too long to tell you that it's in such a competitive sport as football and in professional football. I wasn't that upset that we would lose one game and wake up a little bit. We inched out several games in the course of the season, and we weren't perfect. Like, there were some fundamentals that we just weren't doing. And you could see that when we got in a funk towards the end of the season, it was those fundamentals that were hurting us. And across every player on the team, there were issues. Broken coverage, tremendous issue with dropped balls from the receiver. Ben started to lose his confidence and was not throwing well off target quite a bit. Could not establish the run game, missed tackles, missed offensive line assignments. And so, yes, if I'm speaking on behalf of Steeler Nation, I would tell you that there probably is a little bit of nervousness right now in, have we lost confidence? That's the last thing you want to have happen to you as you're heading in to the upper echelon in the playoffs. And so last week was a good win. It was good. Remember, horrible first half and turned it around. And so I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to listen to the coaching speeches at halftime. I'm sure it was with expletives, slathered with expletives that we couldn't use on this call, those guys up. And so let's see what happens today. You're not going to see the full team. We know that, but you're going to see Pittsburgh, the team, come out, and let's see if they play with pride and do the things that they need to do. At the end of the day, at any given moment, somebody can get hurt on your team, and you've got to be able to step in and be able to take over the reins. And I think when you look back in history of pro football, the really great coaches were the ones that said everybody on the team has a purpose and you got to step up at the right time. And so that's what I'm looking for today. But I will tell you that, as we talked about earlier, I think it's critical for Baker and the Browns to come out early and establish an early lead. I think they have to establish dominance on both sides of the ball, especially on the offensive side, take advantage of a depleted defense. And if they don't do that, if it comes down to where it's back and forth, field goal, then Pittsburgh will have a chance to win this game. There's no doubt about it.
Looking at the Steelers injury report right now, or just the people that are out. So Ben Roethlisberger's out. So obviously your kicker Boswell's out. I didn't know that. And that's actually a groin injury, right? So that was full practice on Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday or Friday. So he's out, your kicker. You've got Terrell Edmonds, a guy I'm familiar with from his time at Virginia Tech. He's out. Pouncey's out, your center. TJ Watt, potentially defensive player of the year, is out. That's huge. Having TJ out is like having Myles Garrett out for us. It is just it's a massive drop of talent and skill when you go from somebody who disrupts just about every play that he's in on to the next guy. It's a big gap between that. So that's a big thing. Non-injury related, he's out. And then Cameron Hayward as well, the veteran there in your defensive tackle. So he's not playing either. What I'm worried about with that, Mark, as you were mentioning, we have to establish, we have to just get out there and start scoring and show that we want to win and we can win. What I'm worried about with that is when the turnover gods show up and say, okay, especially if it's going to be lousy weather, you don't know what can happen with fumbles, you don't know what can happen with interceptions. Baker's got to be able to protect the ball better. He did not do a good job of that against the Jets, losing 2 fumbles, including the game-losing fumble at the end of the game. And that's what I'm mostly worried about, because I think if you match up player by player, matchup by matchup, now especially that the starters are out, we have on paper the better chance to win, and Vegas agrees with me on that. So I don't think it should be any.
I don't think anybody argues with that. What I would tell you though is, if they can't establish the run with Chubb, which they should be able to do, quite frankly, with the holes that are on the defensive line and the linebacking side. If they can't establish the run, and now they're putting pressure on Baker to move the ball down the field with, a majority of the plays being passing, then they're in trouble, right? They're gonna be in trouble there, because I think that we've seen that's one of the gaps that Baker's had in the past, is the ability to consistently protect the ball. They'll hone in on that. But listen, Chubb is a stud. I don't think anybody can argue that. The guy I'm writing down some stuff here. 14 runs over 15 plus yards. I mean, he can turn it on, and he's physical. He can pound it. So that's what I would do. And we talked about it earlier before we came on the call, that, the P in pride is play action passing. And if they can establish the run, and then they're throwing, the safeties coming up, the defensive backs are coming up, they're trying to stop the big runs from Chubb, then it opens holes in the defensive backfield, where Pittsburgh as a team, I think, is 1 or 2 D-backs away from having a really, really world-class defense right now. They can pick on that.
So yeah, Joe Hayden's also, he's not showing up in the report, but he's out with COVID. So he's gone. So I think the only guy I'm familiar with in your defensive back is Minka, who can be very disruptive in his own right. He can be, right? So he's out there.
Yeah, keep an eye on Sutton, because I think that's the hole that I would go towards. You can't go towards number 39. He'll pick you off. So Let's see what they do when they come out. On the offensive side of the ball, I think Pittsburgh just has been non-existent with the run game as much as Connor has been out. I don't know if he's playing today or not. If you could check your sheet,
Doesn't have
they've
him.
got to establish a run, because if I'm the Browns, if I can stop the run on Pittsburgh and put the pressure on Mason, then game over probably.
Yeah, I don't see Connor out. So he's there's still some threats on the Pittsburgh offense. Connor's still a threat. Snell's a threat. Claypool is a threat. I mean, these are big play guys that when they need stuff, they're going to have them getting Claypool. The Steelers getting Claypool was, when I saw that draft pick, looking at his measurables, I was like, this is either going to be really, really bad, like really bad, like a guy that we're going to have to worry about for a decade, or, historically the wide receivers coming out of Notre Dame haven't been, really big threats in the NFL. So Claypool's the guy that I am most nervous about on that offense in general. I'm not really worried about Juju. I think Juju's a very nice receiver, but he's not a dominant receiver like Hines Ward used to be, like Antonio Brown used to be. Those guys killed us for decades. Juju is just nice, and he's good. He's just nice. But Claypool's going to be the guy.
Yeah, so I'll put a plug in for Juju. I think that he was a rising star with a lot of talent, and what you're seeing is a lot of defenses are double teaming him, which is then opening up Johnson or Claypool up. Claypool, very physical guy. I think my only criticism of Claypool is he has to focus a little bit more on football fundamentals like he did earlier in the season, and not worry about being on Men's Health cover or GQ cover. Mm-hmm. And so let's see if he steps up today. One-on-one, now I don't know a tremendous amount about the Browns defensive backfield, but one-on-one against some of the receivers we just rattled off for the Steelers, tremendous speed. So you got to be cognizant of that if Rudolph can pick it up at the line and call an audible where he sees a one-on-one, it could be that we're going deep frequently and maybe we beat you on speed.
Well, that's one of the weaker spots on our team is our defensive backs. I don't think it doesn't show up here on the report. Ronnie Harrison looks like he's playing because he's been full practice, so that's good. So when Ronnie's been good when he's been on the field, I don't know if Sendejo's playing. Dad, do we know if Sendejo's playing?
No, he's out.
He's out with COVID.
Yep.
Okay, so Sendejo's out. So that means Redwine's going to be in there. That's a weak point. Denzel Ward is out, and Johnson's out. So it's going to be T. Mitch. We're going to see a lot of our backup secondary, and I think that's the scariest part right now with the Browns. If you had Denzel Ward in there against Claypool or Juju or Washington, I'd be like, okay, fine. We have one of those guys is going to get locked down, but the fact that almost none of them are out there, it's very, very scary, and for us Browns fans. Oof.
Yeah, we have to avoid giving up the big, quick score. And if Pittsburgh grinds it out and goes down the field, fine. But it'll eat up some of the clock. But if we give up those 45, 50-yard bombs quick right after we score, that type of thing, we can't get off the field.
Right.
Those are just so disheartening to witness, and you feel bad for the players. I think they're going to be playing the safeties deep to avoid that because they don't want to get beat, especially early. Maybe later in the game it'll change depending on what the complexity is and where we stand. Let me ask you,
Ebron's out too, so you got a tight end that normally
dump
over the middle. So with Ebron out and an unproven tight end, although I'm reading reports that this backup tight end, I don't have his name in front of me, is very good blocker. And so maybe that'll help with Connor back in the game running, but you're not going to have the Ebron threat over the middle in short, passes. Right. So if you're going to beat him at all with the passing game, I think it's going to be down field.
Right.
And they're going to test some of these D-backs that Mike mentioned earlier. For sure.
If Rudolph goes down or has to come out of the game, does Roethlisberger come in, or is he not going to dress?
No, they have Dobbs. I just saw a sheet. They've got Dobbs as second,
Okay.
and Roethlisberger can play, but they got him at third. They don't want to bring him in unless it's an emergency.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that would make sense. I mean, again, like I know there's players, and Marcus, you mentioning pride, right? You don't want to get destroyed. It is still a rivalry game. It still is. You know, the Steelers want to maintain that position that we're the team to beat in the AFC North, which has been teetering back and forth between the Steelers and the Ravens for any given year. The Browns are a team on the rise, so no matter what, they would love to have to sweep us for the season, especially how bad they beat us in the first game in Pittsburgh, right? So they don't want to lose this game. This is an opportunity for some of those backup players to get some playing time and prove that they belong in the league. Maybe if it's not even with the Steelers, maybe they get picked up somewhere else and prove that they can be a starter against a high-powered offense and show what they can do. So this is like a feature game for some of those guys. Yeah. So I don't expect the Steelers to roll over, but I do expect that if the Browns get up big, like in the Tennessee game where we go nuts in the first half and score 40 points or whatever, I do expect the Steelers to be like, all right, cool. Like we're good at this point. Because even your backup players, right? Even Mason Rudolph, for example, that guy getting hurt starts adding in little issues for playoff time because Ben is not a spring chicken anymore. He could go down. You want to have a seasoned backup quarterback like Rudolph. Now, do I think Rudolph can take him to the Super Bowl? I do not. But in a pinch where Ben gets injured, has to sit out for, let's say a couple series, Mason Rudolph's not the worst guy to be in there, right? So it's stuff like that where they have to, like Tomlin's job today is not to win the game. Tomlin's job is to put out a good showing and not lose any players, right? And I think the same in a certain degree goes for Stefanski and the Browns. Although our job is to win the game because if not, it's over. It's also about not losing players because it seems like we lost Hubbard last game. It's just with what we're dealing with COVID already, we can't pile on and compile that with actual injuries going into the playoffs. Now, I've said this for pretty much all season. My barometer for success this year is making the playoffs. If we lose this game today, does that mean that we didn't have a successful season? No, I think we had a successful. You win 10 games in the NFL, it's a successful season. But for me, it was about getting to the playoffs and having a game next week and being excited about that. And if we win today, we achieve that goal, and I don't care what happens next week, right? If we lose,
that monkey off our back that we haven't been there since 2004 or something. You always want to get those types of things behind you so that you can start fresh the next year and build upon that. So yeah, I agree with you, Mike. That it would be a disappointment if we don't make the playoffs. Because we had such high hopes, talent, good record, and it came down to two games, really, the Jets and this one,
right?
And we couldn't pull it off. So, and we'll have to stew on it till the draft and into preseason next year, which will.
But here's the deal. This is the reality. If we can't, even though we had all those players out last week in the Jets. All of wide receivers and offensive linemen that were out and everything like that. They were still a 1-13 team at that point when we lost to them, having just been in that stadium the week before. And then if we lose to the Steelers on a skeleton crew, the last game of the season at home in a game we have to win to make the playoffs, if we don't win that, then I got to tell you guys, we don't deserve it anyway.
Absolutely.
It's the Colts, the Titans, the Ravens, all of the Dolphins, they all deserve it over us, if we can't beat the Steelers today. And I know there still is a scenario where we can get in if we lose. I don't want to mess with that, the mojo of that at all. Just take care of business, go.
Yeah, listen, let's just pray on bended knee right now that the I don't even like to say the word Ravens. It's like Harry Potter, Voldemort in my house. We don't say that name.
All right.
So let's hope that they don't squeak their way in, because that would be painful. But you're correct. Listen, there's 3 games I think that you take a look at for the Browns season: the Raiders, the Jets, and this game against the Steelers. that is either going to say we had a good year or a bad year. And if they can come back and take this game and do it in dominant fashion and go in on a high note. And when I say dominant, I'm talking like they win today by 17 or more. Mm-hmm. They go in on a high note and they've got that level of confidence there. Even though Pittsburgh can come back and say, well, we sat a few people, we had some people that were out with injuries or COVID.
Yeah.
They're still going to pay attention.
Is the line 10 points?
It was either 10 or 10 and a half.
Yeah. Mike, have we ever been 10-point favors? I mean, we played 15 games and we've never come close to that.
The reality is we're a 10-point favorite or 10 and a half point favorite versus a 12-3 team. And that's that again, you take away all of those players. If you put the actual Steelers out there, the first team, it's much closer than that. It's probably a pick'em game at this point, just because of how the Steelers have been trending, and then how much we need this, and the fact that we have our actual team playing today. But the reality is, and here's the other thing for us, the other kind of moral victory that I'd like to see us today, we have a negative 13 net point differential on the year, which is like for a potentially 11-5 team to have given up more points than we've scored it's insane. On the flip side of that, you look at the Steelers are net 106 positive. The Ravens are net plus 130, and we're negative 13. That just goes to show, if we had a legitimate defense and we didn't have these guys that were either out with injuries or COVID or all the crap that we've dealt with all year, and just even the injuries that happened in the preseason with Greedy and Grant Delpit, we're looking at a team, even if we're just net 50 points positive, we would have won 2 extra games.
Yeah, but
I truly believe that.
10 games we won, I wonder how positive we were on those 10 games. The 5
we weren't blowing out teams.
We got pounded pretty good, and we lost a lot of our point differential as a result of losing those 5 games. But the first one against the Ravens and the one against you guys. We squeaked out some games in between, but it's, it is what it is. And it may be a predictor, but again, I come down to Baker. If he has a good game, he will put up some points. And I'd love it if they took him out in like the third quarter, because they don't need him anymore. And we can coast through the fourth. That way both teams save their players. No, disheartening loss of a key player in the fourth quarter when it doesn't mean anything. So you avoid those types of things. Give them a little bit of rest.
Week 17
the following
has
week.
16 games.
Mike, I'm going to have to jump. Mike and Dan, I'm going to have to jump, but I want to tell you my predictions.
Okay.
And focus for the game. So keeping in theme of pride, I would say the P is play action passing, establish the run right out of the gate, and keep.
Is this for the Browns or for the Steelers?
So for the Browns, keep Pittsburgh on their heels. And if you can't do that, then you're in trouble. So I think that you've got to establish the run and have the ability to be able to do some play action passing.
Right.
You got to take the run away from the Steelers. If the Steelers establish a run game, it's just what I said about the Browns. That then opens the door for them to use downfield threats with speed against a defensive back crew that's maybe not proven. I for intensity. I think that both teams have to come out with extreme intensity on both sides of the ball and special teams, and play every down like it's the last down of the season. That's more for the Browns.
Right.
Downfield threat. I talked about that. It goes back to play action passing, establishing run, and then you can open up downfield.
Right.
And then the E of pride is absolutely an early start. If the Browns don't get out of the gates early and establish a decent cushion of a lead, Pittsburgh will find a way to creep back in. And even though we don't have our starting kicker, the other one has been kicking for the last couple games and has done pretty well. So it's not like we can't kick our way to a win. So listen, call me stupid, but I will never against the Steelers say that the Browns are going to win. So I'm going to say that the score is 26-24 Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Okay.
If it's 26-24 Pittsburgh, you're going to see me in the post game show. I don't even know what else. I don't even know what to say. It's always difficult in post game shows when we lose. Always difficult. Last year 10 times, this year only 5. So that's good. But if we end up losing that game and losing it close to Mason Rudolph and the backup Steelers, man, I mean, my heart will be broken. I really honestly think that. But Mark, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure having you on. We may be looking at playing each other 2 weeks in a row here. So buckle up, and I hope you enjoy the game, and I wish you guys luck, but I do believe that score will probably be flipped, or better chance of that score being flipped for the Browns winning this one.
Yes, Mike, stay on text. I will be sending you text, win, lose, or draw. Dan, good to see you. Happy New Year to you both, and healthy, prosperous 2021 into the Browns Nation out there.
Love it. Appreciate it, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, guys, we have a lot of fun things to talk about today. Appreciate that with Mark there. Oops, let me fix up my chat box. I appreciate Mark coming on. He's a guy that I work with, who's a VP of sales here for my company. I work for a software company, and knowing that he is from Youngstown, Ohio, so he's one of those Steelers fans. So there's Ohio-based Steeler fans, and went to school with Bernie Kosar and graduated with Bernie's sister, and he's very knowledgeable about the game. He played football, knows the game, knows the Steelers intimately, and
Right.
and obviously has been around enough for AFC Central, AFC North games that he's very familiar with the Browns. So I appreciate Mark coming on there. Fane Coca, what's going on, dude, over there on Twitch? You'll notice the new overlay. So new camera, better quality, at least from me. And then we have
Pretty sharp there, Mike.
the new camera is doing really good. So that's great. And then we got the chat there right below me. And there is a way to do multi-channel chat. So we'll have both our Twitch people and our YouTube people in there. But for the time being, because I was pressed for time this morning, we're only looking at YouTube chat right now. So I appreciate everybody being here for that. This is a big one, guys. This is week 17. This is what we've been waiting for. I will tell you, I had some time to reflect over the last couple of days in terms of what this season is and what the season has meant for me as a Browns fan. I will tell you, I have to say this has probably been the most entertaining season of Cleveland Browns football that I have watched in my adult life. And I know this is probably the biggest game or one of the biggest games, but I've been on this planet for 40 years, almost 41 years. Growing up in the 80s with some of the heartbreaks, the 90s obviously with what happened there, the team coming back and having a shred of positivity early when we made the playoffs in 2002 and then barely losing that game. And then it's kind of been that kind of crap show other than that 2007 season, which we also missed out on the playoffs. So I will say this has been the most interesting and entertaining, especially with everybody in chat. I also want to say thank you to everybody in chat. Making this, joining with us. We watch what you guys are saying. That's why I wanted to put the chat down there so you guys know that we're actually looking at what you're saying.
Right.
The new people over there on Twitch as well. So expanding out to what we're doing in Twitch. What we did with St. Jude this year, helping quite a few of you guys helped out with the fundraiser we did where me and the group of people that I was part of with my company were able to raise over $10,000 for St. Jude, which was just incredible this year. And a lot of that due to a lot of the people that are here in chat. And then, with all the stuff this year with Baker having to prove it, Miles coming back and seeing if he was going to be a knucklehead, if he was going to be the guy that we expected him to always be. Having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for the whole season. Were we going to be able to make it happen with Odell Beckham and see how he would do this year? And then, with the injuries with Odell, with the injury of Nick Chubb, with Miles going out with COVID, with Denzel Ward being injured, with the injuries that we had in preseason, with a brand new coach, a brand new coaching staff, and new coaching philosophy, with a quarterback who's on a prove it year. I think we now have a different identity going into potentially the postseason if we win today. And then we have a much different identity, as we've talked about, this being a window for us. The window is there. And we've now proven that we've taken that not, I wouldn't even say baby step forward. Going from 6-10 to 11-5 is a giant leap forward. And I know I'm already putting that win on our score sheet, and you're not supposed to do that. I'm talking hypotheticals now. If we go, even if we go 10 from 6-10 to 10-6, that's still a big jump forward, right? So I think this is one of those, has been one of those really truly magical seasons. The fact that we're not only playing relevant football, or we played relevant football in December, but we're playing hyper relevant football in January.
Yeah.
You know, we everybody in chat right now, and Dad, especially you and I, you know, we love the Cleveland Browns. We love this football team. We love it. It's part of our identity. It's part of our, it defines happiness to a certain degree, for the week, especially the days after the games.
Yeah.
And
Monday Victory Cup was invented this year.
yeah, the Victory Monday, all of the great stuff, that all of the great times that we've experienced this season. And it really comes down to today, and the Browns have said it, Baker said it, Stefanski, this is a playoff game. This is the play-in game, right? So if we can take care of business today, we have essentially solidified what I think every Browns fan would agree was the barometer for success, which is making the playoffs with the amount of talent that we have. Now, what we do in the playoffs is going to be a different story, because you look at the Steelers today, they're playing with a skeleton team. We have to be able to take care of business, and then we have to potentially go back next week. Who knows? We might have to go to Buffalo. You know, we're going to have to go somewhere probably difficult. If I look at all the teams in the playoffs, or in the playoff picture right now, which I was doing as Mark was taking off, the teams as it stands today, the Chiefs will have a bye because they've earned that. Yeah, they can't, because they only have one loss, and the Bills and the Steelers have 3. So worst case scenario, they'll be 14-2, playing the Chargers, which they'll probably beat the Chargers too. So they're probably going to sit their players, so they're going to be 14-2. So it doesn't matter. So we're going to either have the Bills or the Steelers, because the way that it looks in the hunt, we would have to play, if we're the lowest wild card team, we'd have to play the number 2 seed, which would be the Bills. That's if the Dolphins beat the Bills today. So keep that in mind. If the Dolphins beat the Bills, everything stays the same, because the Dolphins, so the Bills still win the division at 12-3. The Dolphins then come in second, and they're at the 5 spot in the wild card, or the first wild card spot, 5 spot overall. So the Dolphins would then play the Titans, the Ravens would play the Steelers, and we would play the Bills if the Dolphins win today. If they lose, the Dolphins are 10-6. The Ravens are going to beat the Bengals, so they're going to be 10-6, or they're going to be 11-5, and we're going to be 11-5 as well. So we move up to the 6 spot. The Ravens move up to the 5 spot. The Dolphins fall down to the 7, and which we would then play in the first week of the playoffs, the Steelers. So if we have to be watching what happens in the Dolphins game as well, because that's going to determine seeding, right?
Right.
I don't know what the scenario could possibly be for the Colts making it, other than us losing today and them beating the Jaguars. The Colts make the playoffs in the 7 spot. Same thing will happen. It's either going to be the Dolphins or the Colts. The Colts make the playoffs if they beat the Jaguars and the Dolphins lose. Because you have to assume the Browns and Ravens are going to win today, right? You have to assume that. Then you got the Dolphins, who play the Bills in Buffalo. Then you got the Colts playing the Jags, and I think they play in Indianapolis. So the 1-14 Jags, and the Jags don't want to win that game, because they want to have a shot at Trevor Lawrence or whoever the heck they want at quarterback. So that's going to be the big thing. If we're either going to have to play the Bills, or we're going to have to play the Steelers next week. And if I was picking, I'd probably say, I want to play the Steelers. I think the Steelers are the most beatable team out of or the Titans, but we're not going to have a shot at the Titans because we're not going to be able to get above the Ravens.
All right. Well, we're going to do a giveaway here shortly. Mike, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at those cards that we got in the mail, or you got in the mail, and pick out, several cards for our giveaway. And I have a trivia question that goes to this point about playing the Steelers. And whoever guesses that, post it on the chat there first. Whose ever fingers are quick enough maybe to look it up online or whatever, we'll get those cards. So
I'm trying to open this pack. This guy who we bought this pack of cards from,
right?
Man, he really butchered this thing with tape.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's not. The cards are intact. It's just the package is just, and I have to shred this thing open because I'm not grabbing my Leatherman. So let's take a look at the cards. There's quite a few in here. All right, some of the old ones that I had collected as a kid. Mike Johnson in the Pro Set. This is one of the first. The Pro Set cards were one of the first ones that I had collected as a kid. I was a baseball card collector, but the Pro Set cards were the first football ones. We have a Myles Garrett scorecard. Myles is in there as well.
Nice.
Nick Chubb. And this is, I don't know what brand this is. Absolute Football. Panini. So Nick Chubb in there as well. We've got Baker in that as well. So Baker's in there. These are from the 2019, obviously you can tell by the jerseys. David Njoku. We got Don Russ, Nick Chubb as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of cards here, guys. I won't go through them all. Harrison Bryant, Bernie Kosar, old one. Odell Beckham, two Odell Beckhams. Jedrick Wills running.
Well, why don't you put 5 or 6 together, or maybe 7, pick out. Yeah, and we'll do a giveaway. And if the chat is ready, we got 162 guys in there in chat. And I got this question or this trivia for you from Jake Trotter. He was tweeting on Twitter. And I just thought it kind of surprised me. So I'm wondering how it's going to go with the people in chat. So Sunday marks the 14th time that the Browns and Steelers have met in the regular season final game since they started doing 16 games per season, which was in 1978. And so my question is, what is the record of those 13 games of us playing the Steelers in the last regular season game like we are today? Go ahead, chat. Make your prediction. 13 games. What do you think the Steelers' record versus us, or us versus them, has been over the last 13 years?
Over the last 13 years?
Yeah.
Probably. I'm going to say 0-13. I can't remember a game that we beat the Steelers last game of the season. Is this ever
You are incorrect, Michael.
Okay, so we have beat them. Good. So I'm wrong. We got some scores populating in. I'm just going to randomly pick out like 5 of these. And there's a couple duplicates in here, so we'll be able to give out some more in the post-game show as well. Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Myles, the random. I want to say Mike Johnson was. I want to say that was Pepper Johnson.
Someone has gotten it correct. Arendal, Arendahl, 12-1. Steelers over the Browns.
Wow.
12-1. I didn't want to say that, when Mark was on. I didn't want to, indicate how poorly we have done in the last game of the season.
We actually had a guy on Twitch get it first, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah?
We did. Yeah, we had. I'm sorry. I'll send out cards to both of you guys.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I got it for both. So Twitch. So Coca and Arundel. If you guys can send me your address, please. browniepostgame@gmail.com. browniepostgame@gmail.com. Send me your address, and I'll pick out a bunch of these cards. Maybe we'll just do like half and half or do whatever we want. But I got a bunch of those. We're gonna save the homage and we're gonna save homage and Sabo apparel for the post game as well. So win or lose, guys, win or lose. It's either gonna be a great time or a bad time, but we're still gonna have winners today, like we did. So Coca and Arundel, hit me with your address on at Gmail, browniepostgame@gmail, and also let me know you won the cards. As a reminder, appreciate that. In terms of, can you send me a DM on Twitter, or can I order a hat like that? Ohio. It's just Brown Shop. If you go to Fanatics, Coke, I'll see if I can find the link for you. But yeah, it is. It's getting close, guys. It's getting close to noon. I want to say again, I appreciate everybody for being here. Some of the guys want to give out some shout outs on in chat over on the Twitch side. Redhead 13, J Rod's over there, Fane Coca, Red Raven 879 says big fan of your channel, and I've been a Browns fan since 1985 for Red Raven. Over on the YouTube side, Kyle Liu, Arndal, Oren Smith, Ballistic Plays, Tim Zayler. I'm just gonna scroll through here, guys. David Sarka, X-Men Avenger 23. Edward Roar, TJ 110, Piero Vincini, Ethan Frigate, Jim Burnett, Christian M. I saw CH in there earlier. John Schlegel's in the house. Tim Hawley, Hambone. I haven't seen Max. I think Gary Washington is coming off of COVID. Was in the chat. Browns fan 1977. Ara's here. Tim Zayler, Jason Apricot, Cole, Brandy, S. Zupon, Spirit E, Mark, all you guys, appreciate all of you guys for being here. I am absolutely thrilled that we had such a great season. We had a lot of growth. I was looking at the analytics. Let me pop into my analytics, just tell you guys what we had so far this season from a live streaming perspective, not counting today. Up to 3878 from a subscriber standpoint, so inching there closer to 4,000 subscribers. Anybody who happens to be in the chat right now is not subscribed, please subscribe, help us out. We're trying to get to that 4,000 mark. In the last, what should I say, since like September? Let me do a custom range. Since 09, we'll go September 1st.
Well, in defense of our record, while Mike's working on that, in defense of our record, at the last game of the year, obviously very poor, being 1-12, and most of those teams were not very good, so that reflected of the record. Mm-hmm. So the change for me is this is not the same old Browns that we've seen over the last 13 years. This is a different Browns team. We're missing a couple of key players, but we can survive that. We're playing against a B team, so we should be able to end 12. It's 12 in a row too. 12 in a row that we've lost. So we make the playoffs. We end this streak against Pittsburgh. We get a chance to, play against them maybe the next week and go 2-0 against them. What a way to finish the season. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm rooting for.
Yep. Looking at the channel analytics over just for this season alone, 122,000 views, 10,000 hours watch time, and we picked up 498 new subscribers. And then also launched on Twitch, so we have that, and just a lot of great stuff. A lot of great growth that we experienced this year. We're hoping to build on it, hoping to get some really great growth again in the playoffs as well. So hopefully that can be great. new camera that we got, new overlay that we got going on. So a lot of cool stuff. And I just want to say thank you to everybody because this has been a great season. And we had ups and downs this season. We had very happy moments. Dad, you and I got to watch quite a few games together. Right. You know, which is awesome. And if we make the playoffs, are you going to come up next week if we make the playoffs? Can you make it?
Yeah, we could. And I didn't realize it, but I think that the Super Bowl is here in Miami, isn't it?
Oh, it's in Tampa.
Oh, Tampa, right? Yeah, the championship game for what you call Alabama versus Ohio State is here in Miami. So Florida's hosting some big games, and who knows? You know, we win today, we win next week, we could make it to the.
You know what? Anything can happen. You know, technically anything can happen.
Right.
You know, teams can get hot at the right time. I think I'd be very surprised if the Browns did well. I'd honestly be fairly surprised if we made it out of the first round. But hey, if we're playing relevant football for deep into the middle of January, it's like a dream come true for us, win or lose.
That is true.
You know, and it's, you know, I was watching that Clemson game the other day, Clemson and Ohio State, and you know, so many of the Browns fans obviously are Ohio State fans, and watching them kind of get their redemption against against Clemson was really great to see. I love watching the Browns fans when the Cavs do well, when the Indians do well, Columbus, their teams in Columbus when they do well. Although I don't personally support those teams, there's always a small part of me that knows what it's like because of all these people in chat who are most likely Ohio State fans and, you know, Indians fans and Cavs fans, stuff like that. So I always like to see when the teams win, but it was honestly nice watching a game of football that was a big game and not having an emotional tie into it, right? Where you just go, wow, that was a good play. When Justin Fields is throwing bombs all over the field, Trevor Lawrence is fumbling the ball, you know, breaking big long runs, big long catches, and it just felt good to watch it, sit back and just be like, okay, game's over, I'm gonna go to bed now. You know, with this Browns team this year and what we've been through, it has been, you know, an emotional roller coaster for the most part. Lots of wins, starting off with that loss against the Ravens, then rattling off 4 in a row, then getting crushed by the Steelers, then, you know, all those games that were just came down to the wire, and you know, came down to those onside kick opportunities, right? You know, just wild. You know, we did a lot of giveaways this year as well. We gave away a ton of T-shirts, gave away jerseys, gave away football cards. You know, that's only going to continue, guys. Next year, I want to step the game up even more next year. And that's why that Patreon is really important. So the Patreon down there below, if you want to have your name be listed down below, we will have you in there. And that helps us save some money, get some stuff together, improve the show, but also give back to the viewers. So it's really important. $1, $5, whatever. It's really a cool thing. So anything that you could do to help out would be very, very much appreciated. And if you don't want to do Patreon, if you go over to Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. And, you know, we get like $2 a month for that. And it doesn't cost you anything. Right. If you have Amazon Prime and a Twitch account, you can subscribe to the Brownie Postgame channel, and we get $2.50 or something, which is huge. So there's tons of ways that you could support us. Also, we have our Twitter account down there. I'm at Mike Hilly, and that's my dad is at BrowniePost_Dan. So lots of ways, and then also big thanks to our sponsors, the people who really help us with those giveaways and everything like that. Schlegel Law Firm, John Schlegel, who's oftentimes in chat. Big Browns fan, Columbus-based law firm. Reach out to Schlegel Law for any of your legal needs, whether it's wills and trusts, eviction, stuff like that. Oh, there we go. Fane Coca just subscribe with Prime. So bam, right. It's that easy, guys. Thank you, Fane. Appreciate that, my man.
Let's hope we can open up the season next year with fans in the seats.
Oh yeah.
As Mike and I talked about, one of our goals this year, which couldn't be done, but maybe next year, would be if we do get a lot of contributions, instead of a jersey or whatever, we give 2 tickets away, to a game.
Yeah.
That would be our highlight. We'd love to do that, and we could follow the person as they go to the game and whatnot. We can do a lot of stuff with that. So if we get a lot of new subscribers, we get more patrons and more contributions, that's something we can do.
Yeah. I mean, the overall goal would be season tickets. Season tickets that we give away each game, so then we can look maybe like season tickets in the dog pound, which is like impossible to ever get because they're all sold out and there's a waiting list and everything. But imagine like if we had season tickets like in the dog pound, and then for the games we could look, oh, where's our guy who's sitting in our seats today?
Exactly.
That would be just phenomenal.
We sent him a T-shirt, Mike, and he wears it to the game. If it's early in the season, he can if he gets on camera, we could.
It'd be fantastic. Well, Ristano is a season ticket holder, and I don't think he makes it to every one of the games. So some of those games that he can't make it to, if he sells them to us, then we can obviously give away Ristano's tickets, and it helps him out, so he doesn't have to sell them and give StubHub or something money. We can do it here. So there's going to be a lot of cool things coming up, guys. Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go ahead and get ready. Be here. Subscribe to the channel. Hit us with a like right now if you're in chat. Appreciate that. If you can hit us with a like, it helps us out. We will be back around 4:10ish whenever the game ends. Between 4:10. Just set your reminder. New follower Pete. Welcome, Pete, over there on Twitch.
In chat, we didn't get the predictions to give away the jersey. Should we do that?
Let's do something else. I have an idea for the jersey.
Okay.
Let's do something else. We'll hold off on that. It's too difficult for me to do it all. I have another way we can do something. So if we win the game today and some good things happen, just all I would say is just be back for the post game show. Right. All right, guys.
You gotta be here to win, right?
Yep, absolutely. Got to be here to win. Appreciate it. Go Browns. Support our people. Subscribe on Twitch. Buy some stuff from Sabo and Homage. I'm wearing my Homage shirt. Wearing my Metcalf shirt. Right? I mean, it's the Pittsburgh game. This is from when he jumped over the guy running in for that punt return on his 2 punt return game against Pittsburgh. Right. So guys, appreciate it. All the love in the world, Brownie postgame family, and we will see you back in the postgame show. Go Browns.
All right, go Brownies. Happy New Year.